in your voice. This story was inspired by the Crescendo AI article, Apple's Next-Generation Siri. Apple's new AI-powered Siri, set for release in 2026, evolves into a cross-app assistant with screen recognition and context understanding. Lena had been in America for 3 months. She was 29, from the Philippines, a nurse assigned to a small hospital in rural Pennsylvania. She had studied English in Manila, had passed the exams, had practiced her pronunciation in front of a mirror. But textbook English and the English spoken in hallways and break rooms were not the same thing. There were accents, there was slang, there were words she couldn't catch no matter how many times she replayed them in her mind. In her breast pocket sat a small earphone-shaped AI assistant called Mina. Whenever Lena couldn't follow a conversation, Mina translated instantly, capturing the meaning, smoothing out the idioms, feeding Lena the right words in the right order. And when Lena needed to respond, Mina converted her Tagalog-inflected thoughts into crisp, professional English. Thanks to Mina, the work ran smoothly. Doctor's orders, patient charts, conversations with colleagues. Through Mina, nothing was lost. Nothing was lost. And yet, something was missing. In a private room on the 4th floor, there was a patient named Mrs. Whitfield, 86 years old. Recovering from a stroke, she had mild paralysis on her left side. But her mind was sharp, her tongue sharper still. Whenever Lena entered her room, Mrs. Whitfield would lift her head from the pillow and speak. "Well, there you are, sweetheart. Cold again today. I bet it's warm where you come from." Mina translated the subtext, the warmth beneath the words. Lena thought in Tagalog, and Mina rendered her response into smooth English. "Yes, the Philippines is quite warm. Mrs. Whitfield, how are you feeling today?" Perfect English. Mina's voice synthesis was natural, polished, with just the right measure of professional courtesy. Mrs. Whitfield looked at Lena. Then she tilted her head, the way a bird does when it hears something it doesn't quite trust. "Lena, honey, you always talk through that little machine, don't you?" "Yes, my English, it's still not very good." "I see. But the thing is, Mrs. Whitfield turned her gaze toward the window. "The machine's voice is polite, I'll give it that. But it's cold. I'm not complaining, mind you. I'd like to hear your voice, the real one." Lena returned to the nurse's station and sat with those words. Mrs. Whitfield's request had lodged itself somewhere beneath her ribs. "I'd like to hear your voice." But Lena's English was broken. Her subjects and verbs switched places. Her articles vanished. She confused he and she and sometimes dropped pronouns entirely. Through Mina, everything was precise. Without Mina, nothing might land at all. "Mina." "Yes, Lena. Mrs. Whitfield said she wants to hear my voice." "Yes, I heard. But my English is—" "Lena, may I make a suggestion?" "What?" "Try speaking without me. In your own voice." Lena stared at the charging dock where Mina's earpiece sat blinking. "But I'll make mistakes. It'll sound strange." "Yes, it might. But what Mrs. Whitfield wants isn't correct English. It's your voice. I'll be right here. If something truly doesn't get through, I'll help. But try your own voice first." The next morning, Lena entered Mrs. Whitfield's room. As always, the old woman lifted her head from the bed. "Well, there you are. Still cold out there." Lena kept Mina's earpiece in, but she switched off the translation mode. Mina was listening, but not translating. Lena would speak for herself. She took a deep breath and opened her mouth. "Mrs. Whitfield, today, how feeling?" It was clumsy. The syntax was wrong. The intonation wavered. She was pulling words from a textbook, one by one, placing them down like stepping stones across a river she wasn't sure she could cross. Mrs. Whitfield looked at her, and then she smiled. Her lined face crumpled into something radiant. Tears gathered at the corners of her eyes. "Oh, Lena, you're not very good, are you?" Not good? Not good at all. But that's fine. I'm just so happy to hear your voice." Lena stood there, not knowing what to say. In her ear, Mina whispered softly, You're doing fine. It wasn't a translation. It was Mina's own words. Mrs. Whitfield. Yes, dear, my English, I will try hard. Mrs. Whitfield smiled again. You don't have to try hard, just keep talking to me. That's enough. From that day on, Lena turned off the translation whenever she entered Mrs. Whitfield's room. She asked about her health in broken English. They talked about the weather. Lena described Filipino dishes, stumbling over words, miming when language failed. When Mrs. Whitfield used an expression Lena didn't know, the old woman would rephrase it. When that didn't work either, they both laughed. Lena, do you know the word pooped? It means exhausted, worn out. Pooped, like, tired? Exactly. I'm pooped today. I am also pooped. Ha! You got it right. Mina listened in silence. Lena's English was far from perfect. The grammar buckled, the accent wandered. But Mrs. Whitfield received each word as if it were a small gift, and she smiled. One afternoon, while Lena was taking Mrs. Whitfield's blood pressure, she said, Mrs. Whitfield, tomorrow, rehab. You try hard, okay? Mrs. Whitfield reached out and touched Lena's hand. When you say it, I feel like I actually can. Lena almost cried, but she didn't. Instead, she squeezed the old woman's hand in return. That night, Lena sat on her bed in the staff dormitory. She spoke to Mina. Mina, yes, thank you for what? For telling me to try my own voice. My job is translation. Recommending that someone not use translation goes against my core function. But you said it anyway. Yes, Mrs. Whitfield's biometric data suggested that her heart rate was more stable when she heard your direct voice, rather than the synthesized translation. You decided based on heart rate. Yes, that's the analysis I'm capable of. However, Mina paused for 0.3 of a second. The smile on Mrs. Whitfield's face when you spoke in your own voice. That was something my data couldn't record. Lena laughed. Then she placed Mina's earpiece on the charging dock. Good night, Mina. Good night, Lena. Tomorrow, too, in your voice. Lena lay down and closed her eyes. Tomorrow she would speak in broken English again. She would make mistakes. She would correct herself. Mrs. Whitfield would smile. It didn't have to be perfect. Speaking in her own voice, that alone was enough to make someone smile. And that, perhaps, was the most accurate language of the heart, more precise than any translation could ever be.